Let's begin by looking at the daily lives of two workers, a garment factory worker in Bangladesh and a smartphone assembler in China. In Dhaka, Bangladesh, the garment factory worker spends her day sewing clothes under tight deadlines. She works quickly and precisely to meet her quotas, directly impacting her earnings. Despite the demanding pace, she earns approximately $100 per month, which is just enough to survive in a city with rising living costs. Meanwhile, in Shenzhen, China, the smartphone assembler operates in a high-paced, automated environment. While his monthly earnings are 3 to 5 times higher than those of his counterpart in Bangladesh, he faces intense pressure to meet production targets. He sometimes even skips meals to keep up with the relentless workflow. Additionally, the higher cost of living in China offsets his higher wages. These two workers, though geographically distant and in different industries, share deep historical and economic connections rooted in colonialism and global trade. The garment industry in Dhaka has its origins in colonial arrangements like the British control of Indian cotton and textile production. In that system, raw materials were extracted from colonies, processed in industrialized nations, and sold back to colonized markets. This setup perpetuated wealth disparities that persist today. Similarly, the smartphone assembly sector in China reflects modern industrial shifts tied to global trade dynamics, where technological advancements and automation have reshaped labor demands. Both of these industries are influenced by multinational corporations that centralize profits and decision-making, leaving workers with limited power to negotiate their conditions. In Dhaka, the lack of technological advancements means workers endure higher physical strain, while in China, automation increases both wages and exhaustion due to intensified work pace and higher performance expectations. These disparities highlight how systemic inequalities are maintained through global labor practices. Due to these realities, every item we purchase carries a story, and some of these stories span continents and centuries. The interconnectedness of workers in Dhaka and Shenzhen illustrates the persistent legacy of colonial economic structures and the ongoing challenges faced by laborers in the global economy. For example, countries like Bangladesh and Vietnam continue to produce garments for global brands under challenging labor conditions, while wealth and decision-making remain centralized in multinational corporations headquartered in the global north. To understand why the global system has been the way it is, we must perhaps first understand what we mean when we say system. But before that, we need to untangle two concepts, labor and work. They're not the same. Work refers to the tasks people perform, like sewing clothes in Dhaka or assembling smartphones in China or coding software in Silicon Valley. These are all work. Labor, on the other hand, refers to the structures and processes that organize these tasks. The rules, institutions, and power dynamics that determine who performs the work, for whom, under what conditions, and for what pay. Across the globe, workers face different realities. Some benefit from advanced technologies, higher wages, and better protections, while others are stuck in low-paying, physically demanding jobs with limited opportunities for advancement. These disparities are not random. They're created by interconnected arrangements of power, policy, culture, and practice, among other things. Corporations set wages and targets, often prioritizing profits over worker well-being. Markets determine prices, but unevenly, shaped by subsidies, trade agreements, and geopolitical interests. International rules, drafted by powerful nations or coalitions, often favor certain regions or industries at the expense of others. Even informal factors, like access to networks or education, can influence who rises and who remains excluded. Together, These forces form what we call the system, which is a web of interdependent mechanisms shaping work and its rewards. To illustrate how these interconnected systems operate, we can examine modern supply chains and identify historical legacies, because from ancient tea plantations to modern fruit distribution networks, the historical exploitation of labor and resources continues to influence present-day production and distribution. Today, products like tea, mangoes, and oranges traverse thousands of miles to reach global markets. This journey links farmers, processors, and distributors in producing countries to consumers worldwide. Workers involved in growing and harvesting these products often receive minimal wages and endure harsh conditions, while multinational corporations and global markets capture the majority of the profits. Advances in technology have streamlined production processes and reduced the need for manual labor, simultaneously increasing consumer demand for fair trade and sustainable products pressures companies to adopt eco-friendly practices, though the financial benefits rarely reach the laborers. Modern supply chains are often inefficient, with multiple intermediaries siphoning profits away from the actual producers. Consumers have some influence over these supply chains. They push companies to prioritize certifications and ethical sourcing. However, these efforts frequently fail to translate into substantial improvements for workers. These patterns are shared across these industries, and they highlight the intricate web of global labor systems. Now, let's take a closer look at the global tea industry to see these dynamics in action. Tea's journey began in ancient China and evolved into one of the world's most beloved beverages. During British colonial rule, tea production expanded to India and Sri Lanka, where plantations were established to supply European markets. Local workers toiled under harsh conditions back then. And today, tea farmers in India and Kenya still work long hours for low wages, while multinational brands reap most of the profits. For example, a farmer in Assam, India, might earn just a few dollars a day picking tea leaves, while the same tea is sold in luxury shops for prices 20 to 50 times higher. This gap underscores how profits are unevenly distributed within the tea trade. Technology is gradually transforming some aspects of tea production. In some regions, machines handle parts of the process, increasing efficiency and reducing costs. However, in areas where mechanization hasn't been adopted, tea farming remains labor-intensive. Workers continue to pick, carry, and process tea manually, facing physically demanding tasks with minimal protections. Certifications like Fair Trade and Rainforest Alliance aim to improve these conditions. Such initiatives seek to ensure fair wages and better working conditions, but much of the additional revenue from fair trade products actually often benefits middlemen or large corporations rather than the farmers themselves. Consequently, even ethical consumer choices have limited impact on improving the livelihoods of tea workers. And for some comparative insights, tea farming shares similarities with other crops like coffee and chocolate. Just as tea plantations were established to supply colonial markets, coffee farms in Latin America and cocoa farms in West Africa were created to meet European demand, often relying on cheap or forced labor. Both industries continue to face challenges such as low wages for small-scale farmers, uneven profit distribution, and in the case of cocoa farming, the ongoing issue of child labor. Next, the global mango industry, which reveals the complex dynamics of cultivation, technology, and sustainability. Mangoes are grown in warm regions like India, Mexico, and Egypt. It's a staple fruit enjoyed worldwide. However, mango production often relies on farm laborers working long hours for minimal pay. In Mexico, for example, workers may earn as little as $5 a day. With growing demand for pre-cut, packaged mangoes in supermarkets, automation is increasingly replacing manual processing tasks. Machines now sort, slice, and pack mangoes more efficiently, reducing costs but also displacing workers who previously relied on these jobs. And third and final, the global orange industry exhibits the same patterns. Oranges are cultivated worldwide, with Brazil dominating the orange juice market. However, the conditions for many orange pickers remain harsh. Innovations like smart irrigation systems allow for precise water management, enhancing productivity, and reducing physical strain on workers. Upon harvest, global orange distribution is swift. Global supply chains enable oranges to be harvested, processed, and delivered to stores in just days. Yet, this speed often adds immense pressure on pickers and processors who work under stressful and demanding conditions. As with mango farming, the orange industry highlights a broader pattern. Low wages and tough conditions persist in producing regions, while technological progress in others boosts efficiency at the cost of displacing jobs. It's a story of modern agriculture marked by innovation, inequality, and interconnected challenges. To summarize and to underline some key takeaways, when we look at tea, mangoes, or oranges, we can see strikingly similar patterns in how global labor systems operate. These goods pass through long and complex supply chains, connecting countless workers and regions. Yet, for the average consumer, the origins of these products and the conditions under which they are produced often remain hidden from view. These are also transforming industries. These transformations are primarily technology-driven, with examples like automated tea-picking machines reducing manual labor demands. However, these advancements often leave workers without alternative employment opportunities. Taken with other technological developments, there's also potential for never-before-seen levels of worldwide unemployment. All of these industries highlight the intricate connections within global labor systems, where every link influences the next. The challenges faced by workers are not isolated issues. Be it low wages, poor working conditions, or the disruptive impacts of automation, each is part of a broader, interdependent system.